It is indeed a pleasure to present to you the new UNEP report, Making Peace with Nature. It is a synthesis of findings from some 25 major global assessments, including from IPCC, IPBES, and GEO. They show that environmental challenges have grown in number and severity ever since the 1972 Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment. They now combine to an environmental emergency. The UN Secretary General has called on the world to end the senseless and suicidal war on nature. Ending this war means that we have to move from transforming nature to transforming humankind's relationship with nature. If we look at the left-hand pink side of the infographic, we see that over the last 50 years, world trade has grown tenfold, the global economy has grown nearly fivefold, and the world population has doubled. Average prosperity has also doubled, but about 1.3 billion people remain poor and some 700 million are hungry. Human development is fueled by a tripling of the extraction of natural resources and energy. 3/4 of the land and 2/3 of the oceans are now impacted by humans. Today's increasingly unequal and resource-intensive development model degrades and surpasses Earth's finite capacity to sustain human well-being. The burden on the environmental decline weighs heaviest on the poor and vulnerable and looms even larger over today's youth and future generations. The Earth's climate is changing and its web of life is unraveling as land and oceans degrade and chemicals and waste accumulate beyond agreed limits. The international community has agreed on these limits by setting environmental targets informed by science. Despite some progress, efforts to meet the targets have largely failed. These figures show two assessments of progress on achieving the Aichi biodiversity targets. There are a few elements of advancement shown in green and blue here, but none of the targets have been fully met. 1 million of the world's estimated 8 million species of plants and animals are threatened with extinction. Society is not on course to fulfill the Paris Agreement either. We are currently on the pathway to a warming of at least 3 degrees by 2100. The next decade is crucial, as indicated in the emission gap figure, to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. Net emissions of carbon dioxide will need to be reduced by 45% by 2030 compared to 2010 levels and reach zero by 2050. To limit global warming to 2 degrees, emissions still need to decline significantly, although somewhat less steeply. The environmental degradation threatens the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Indeed, human well-being goals in the upper ring of this wedding cake figure rests on production and consumption goals in the middle ring, which in turn is founded on the goals related to nature in the ring at the very base of the figure. The environmental emergencies are intertwined. They constitute a cost to society and the economy. Worldwide, 3.2 billion people are adversely affected by land degradation. Pollution still causes about 9 million premature deaths annually. This is impeding progress towards ending poverty and hunger, reducing inequalities, and promoting sustainable economic growth and work for all in peaceful and inclusive societies. So we must restore the Earth's capacity to sustain human well-being, and we must adapt to this capacity, as indicated in the right-hand green side of the infographic. It can be done without surrendering hard-won development gains, while also honoring the rightful aspirations of poorer nations and people to enjoy better living standards. But then we need to address the challenges together, including by fostering better cooperation between the environmental agreements. Transformed economic, financial, and productive systems can lead and power the shift to sustainability. The food, water, and energy system can and should be transformed to meet growing human needs. Keeping the planet healthy is key to providing healthy communities, cities, and well-being for all. All actors have a role to play. Governments hold a leading role in the economic and regulatory system. International organizations facilitate joint efforts. Financial organizations direct investments, private sector innovates and implements, non-governmental organizations conceive ideas and raise awareness, individuals, households, civil society, indigenous peoples, we can all put theory into practice. Finally, scientific and educational organizations help improve our knowledge and understanding. And finally, on that note, the report concludes that human knowledge, ingenuity, and cooperation can transform societies and economies so that we can secure a common sustainable future together. Thank you very much.